Hey guys, this is Adam with SeeYouLaterLeaner, and I am here with Kara, the owner of Angel Competition Bikinis. And together, Kara and I have had six now Fitmodel overall championships won with wearing her bikinis. And I think now that we have more information, I know that we did a few podcasts earlier in the year, but we wanted to share some new information with you, what our experiences are. And what's interesting about the six overalls, well, Emily has won three of those, but she wore a different suit from you guys each time that she won an overall, which we'll show you guys pictures of these as the podcast progresses. But tell us, how are you guys nailing these suits so well? Because I've been so lucky that, to work with you guys. I think the cut of your suit is great. And I feel like you guys have really been on the front lines innovating this since day one. And it's clear that you guys have perfected your craft with this.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me on the podcast again. I absolutely love talking to you and talking about the fit model evolution and where it's going. So, with the cut of the suits, one thing about our company is we have been making bikinis for 12 years now, and we've only been making competition suits. And if you look at the evolution of, say, the bikini division, over the last 12 years, it is crazy. And through those last 12 years of bikini changing, we've gotten really, really good at looking at what the judges want and switching our pattern and getting customer feedback. So we took the same approach with Fit Model. We meet once a week with a seamstress here at AC Bikinis Faith, and we go through the last week's shows for Fit Model to make sure that our suits are the most flattering on the athlete on stage, because that is so important to us for our customers to put their suits on. They fit perfect. It's what the judges want, and they can feel confident in them.
That's awesome. You guys have had to make some adjustments along the ways, obviously. Do you have a recommended time frame now, having done this, since basically January now? Do you have a more recommended time frame for fit models specifically on when they should order their suits? Because a lot of girls, their glutes are kind of the last to change. And it really is important to nail that 50% coverage, which I think you guys are so good at doing that. Do you have any advice for newer competitors with that?
Yeah, that's a great question, because currently the fit model suits don't have any crystals on them. So we can make them quicker than our regular suits, because actually the crystals are what take the longest on the suits. So right now our turnaround time for fit model suits is 2 weeks. And we recommend ordering it at least 8 weeks out. If you're ordering at 4 weeks out and you get your suit at 2 weeks out, that can still work. But keep in mind, we won't have time for alterations if needed. So we do still recommend ordering at 8 weeks out. However, all of the fit model suits have, well, I guess you have to click it in your cart, but all of the ones we've made this year, all of the athletes have opted for the adjustable slider on the bottom. And what that means is it can be adjustable. The same technology that you adjust bra straps with, we have that on the sides of our fit model suits. So if you are off on your anticipated weight loss by, even 10 pounds, it will still fit you, and it will still have that 50% coverage. Now, if you're off on your anticipated weight loss by more than 20 pounds, you probably will need to get a new suit, because, there's such a difference between 10 and 20 pounds. But most fit model athletes are not off. We don't see the as big as discrepancy in weight change a fit model for other divisions, say, for example, figure, who it would be more common for them to lose 20 pounds in the last 6 weeks. Fit model, you're not going to see that.
Yeah, that's a good point. What about different glute shapes? Because this is something that really stood out to me when, my client Lydia, who has probably my biggest set of glutes on a fit model competitor compared to like Emily or Mandy or Kayla, who all have very different glute shapes. Um, how do you fine tune that 50% coverage so well that you guys do?
That is a great question. So the rules just say 50%. And it's a little bit frustrating as a suit designer because, we all know what 50% means. Half of the glutes are covered, but there can be different interpretations of where the glute starts and stops. So navigating that 50% coverage with all of these different variables for glutes can be a challenge. We try to err on the side of a little bit more fabric so that, you can always, when you get to your show, use some suit glue to tuck the suit in a little bit smaller if you wish, but you're pretty much out of luck if the suit is too small and the judge looks at it and says it's too small. So our suits will err on the side of a little bit more than 50% coverage, in specific cases where they're competing. We haven't seen a pro show yet, and we won't until next year. So we still have some time for that. But I do anticipate the coverage being a little bit smaller than 50% once we start to get into the pro league
I could
because their
see that.
glutes are so conditioned, and that really makes a difference in how it appears on the athlete. If you have an athlete with low body fat, we're maybe 15% body fat, which is low for fit model, and they have very high conditioned glutes, 50% is going to appear a lot different than an unconditioned athlete, maybe a first-time competitor that has the same measurements. It looks different because muscle is more aesthetic to us than not muscle. So it is hard to navigate.
Yeah, yeah. And you make a good point about kind of scrunching it in. And that's probably one of the advantages of the scrunch back is if you have a flat back bikini, that's going to look very weird if you like tuck it in, right? So, do you find more and more girls are going with the scrunch back? Because for my girls, it's pretty much a given. We're going to go with that scrunch back every time. I imagine most people are the same, but I don't want to assume so because you have probably done hundreds, if not thousands, of these suits at this point.
Yeah, that's a great question. And so far, we have had 100% of our customers want the scrunch back. And it does come standard. If you don't want the scrunch back, you do have to write a note on your order. I don't want the scrunch back. And we try to have that barrier in because, as designers, we know, and I know this is just my opinion, but we know that the scrunch back will be more flattering on stage than not. So we're not going to, advertise that we make the suits without the scrunch. It's just how we make them. So yeah, I would highly, highly recommend athletes get a suit with a scrunch back because of the adjustability. And the number one reason why you should not wear a normal bikini back without a scrunch is when you're on stage posing and you move your hips and your poses, the suits without the scrunch can easily form a wedgie, and you could have it be very asymmetrical. You could have the left side go completely into your butt and then the right side is completely covered. So it'll look very asymmetrical on stage, and bodybuilding asymmetrical is a no-no. So,
Yeah.
we do not recommend the suits without a scrunch.
That's a really good point. With my client Lydia, it was close. They were like originally no with her suit for a minute, but we were able, because of the scrunch, to pull it out a little bit. We had also gotten a backup suit just in case. So that's another benefit of the scrunch is because you can literally pull it just a little bit wider and glue it if you need to. What percentage of your customers would you say maybe order a second suit that's maybe just slightly smaller coverage or maybe slightly bigger coverage? What does pricing look like if you want an additional bottom just to be on the safe side with the suit?
Yeah, just getting an additional bottom for the fit model suits, depending on what your options are, it's going to be pretty budget friendly, range from 60 to $70. But we do have a fit model bundle on our website that comes with two suits, which is actually the most budget friendly option. So, and then you get the top with it as well.
That's awesome. What does that bundle run? I was actually unaware of that. That's awesome.
Yeah, the bundle is $240. It comes with two suits, a robe, and a pair of earrings. And if they use the See You Later Leaner code, then they get an additional 15% off. So it's pretty budget friendly.
That's amazing. So also now with the suits, they have the hologram and they have the, flat. What percentage wise? Do you see a lot of girls going hologram? I know for me, that's typically the direction I go because we can't have bling, but I think hologram's the next best thing.
Mhm.
So most of my girls have been wearing the hologram. I know all three of Emily's suits that you guys have done that she won overalls and all three different suits were hologram. Do you get a large percentage in the hologram colors?
Yeah, we get probably 80% of fit model athletes are choosing the hologram colors. And then another interesting point about what the fit model athletes are wanting is the majority of them are wanting the molded cups. And when you look at the photos on stage, take Emily, for example, her top just looks completely flawless. And that's because she has the molded top. And when you don't have any crystals or anything else going on in the top, it needs to have that flawless, seamless, perfect look. So we have been getting a lot of girls wanting the molded cups instead of the standard cups. So as a refresher, the standard cups are able to slide on the triangles better, and it's what you see in a typical like string tie bikini. And then the molded cups are a molded shell to where it's going to perfectly sit on your body and give you a little bit of push up. And that's what we've been seeing the girls want is that molded cup.
Absolutely. I'm glad you mentioned that because now this has evolved so much since January. And I remember when, Emily had originally gotten her suit from, a different designer, it wasn't molded. And when you guys sent yours over, the top alone just sold the bikini. Now, granted, we love the bottoms too, but I was like, holy cow, this molded top is amazing. And I was like, I cannot see you in any other, top than this. And you guys were nice enough to send different colors and everything. But the top was definitely such a huge difference. So I'm glad that you mentioned that.
Yeah, what's your favorite color that Emily has worn?
I really like that hologram purple and but you guys have sent that new like teal color that she just wore this weekend and I feel like you guys cut the bottoms on that a little bit different than some of her others and now that has became a favorite which as you guys have done more of these suits you're evolving your cuts and how everything looks. So I think if we were to combine the teal with the purple, like the cut of the teal with the purple, it would be maybe my favorite, but I really do like that teal hologram
Yeah,
quite a bit.
my favorite was the purple, and then the teal was Senket, and then the dark blue was my least favorite for Emily. I'm really glad you brought up the fact that the teal bottoms were cut a little bit different because one thing that we've been transparent with to our customers for the lifetime of our business is every January we change our pattern a little bit. You're probably not going to notice year to year, but if you order a suit in 2018 and get the same exact cut in 2025, it's going to look different. It's going to feel different. It's going to fit different. And that's just because it's gone through, five iterations, seven iterations of different cuts. So with Fit Model, we are approaching it different where almost monthly we'll make little tweaks to the bottom depending on how it looks on the athletes on stage. So the teal suit right now is your favorite bottom, but in 6 months we'll have something just a little bit better. And you probably won't even notice unless you're looking for it, but you're a coach, so you're definitely looking for it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been so cool because we've gotten to experience three different looks on stage, literally three different hair types, different
Hmm.
suit types, and the posing for her has evolved a little bit. So, that makes the suit look different in itself as well. And I think we're going to see that the posing on the Fit Model girls change just a little bit as these next couple months go by. And I honestly think a lot of people are going to be modeling their posing after what Emily is doing. And, I'll let people kind of watch and see what that is. But I think Emily has one of the best front poses in the game right now in Fit Model. So, which just highlights and accentuates the suit that much better.
Yeah. Yeah, Adam, you're kind of not to put pressure on you, but you have a lot of control over this division right now, being that you've had 6 overall wins, and it's not going to be the league that sets the rules for this division. It's going to be the athletes. It's going to be the athletes that have been winning, and whatever they're doing is going to be the standard. So, like, how does does that put pressure on you to make sure, like, you're doing this align with what the average athlete wants?
Yeah, it does and it doesn't. I've been so transparent on the YouTube that I'm still learning and I've been very transparent about that. So, even though we probably had the most fit model wins out of any coach that I know of right now, I am still not an expert at this. I'm learning and I'm sharing that. And, I've shown my mistakes and been super transparent about that with everyone. So just that has made it non-pressure situation
Mhm.
because I really do lean on the league. Sandy's been super helpful. Joe Pascala has been super helpful. Lisa Malloy's been super helpful. I've really been leaning on these judges to help guide me. And I think one of the hardest things for me as a coach right now has been seeing the difference in body types of the winners across the whole United States. And then, also then looking at the competition that they had. So this person won. Why did they win? And then sometimes you may see his show's not that competitive, and you're like, well, that's why that person won. Or you see this show was really competitive. This is probably somebody we need to watch out for. The other difficult piece for me has been not wanting to go leaner because we initially do want that, and especially with Emily coming from bikini, even we'll be coasting off an overall win, and she's like, I still think I want to be a tad tighter. And it's hard not to go that way. So, we really have to pump the brakes and fit the criteria and not be too hard. And, the past two overalls she's won, they've said she's absolutely perfect, where the first one, was come in just a little bit tighter. So,
Yeah, that's really great feedback to hear about Emily, and I can understand the pain, for lack of a better adjective, that can cause the coach, because these athletes, especially girls coming from bikini, they're going to be telling their coaches, "No, I need to be more leaner. I need to be leaner." And the coach, doesn't have on those prep goggles is like, "No, you're fine." It can be hard for an athlete to not like self-sabotage in your head and think, "Oh my gosh, I'm not lean enough." And then come in too lean, which is, in the fit model, I am very happy that they're not rewarding the striated looks because we've seen that on stage a couple times. The girls with the chiseled obliques, that I'm really, really happy that they are not rewarding that because that's not what this division is.
yeah, it's supposed to be attainable, and it's going to be really interesting as we see the junior USAs and the junior nationals come into play. And I think the judges are doing a great job with keeping it with what it's supposed to be. And there's definitely more to come. So I would recommend, we are blessed to live in Las Vegas. We've had two seminars here already with Sandy Williamson. And I've went to both of them because as an active coach, it's our responsibility to try to go this stuff and learn as much as possible. So, if you guys have coaches, let them know about the seminars. Even try to go to the seminars, even if you have to travel. It's a great, no pressure time to meet these judges, engage with them, because at the end of the day, they want to help you. And so definitely take advantage of all the stuff that the NPC and IFBB offer, because a few years ago, we didn't have much of this stuff. And now we have so much access to these people because they're giving us their time and attention, which is so awesome. I really can't thank the league enough for putting this stuff together. But definitely go to these seminars and learn, and watch live streams, watch the Pittsburgh Power Fit's going to be on in a couple weeks. I know they're going to live stream that. So definitely watch these shows as they progress. And Pittsburgh Power Fit will actually be the first US pro card opportunity in Fitmodel. And it's a drug-free tested show. So that's going to be really cool because you see two first. A natural fit model pro card offered, and also the first US based pro card offered. And I think that's super cool.
Yeah, it's really exciting. We have 2 weeks until the Pittsburgh Pro Expo. I really love your mindset on your coaching philosophy there, Adam. Especially thinking from both the athlete and coach's perspective, to have that mindset of never stop learning. There's always going to be something else that you need to know, especially with the evolving divisions, and so to always be going to as many seminars as you can, just always have that learner's mindset, because that'll take you far. And that is one reason why I think you've had so much success this year in the fit model, because it takes a coach that doesn't have an ego, isn't going to go to the first show saying, I know everything, I don't need to learn anything else. So I think that that mindset, adopting that for both the coach and the athlete, of always be learning, be curious about it, be going, educating yourself. I think that can really, really take you far as an athlete.
Absolutely. Be as active as you can. Not everyone will be able to do that, but you can always network and ask questions and get feedback from other competitors. I have plenty of athletes who are not mine who have reached out through, Instagram and asked me questions, and I'm totally happy to help. So if anyone's watching this and they, have any questions, they can always ask me. I'm very open to helping anyone.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Watch all the podcasts, get all the information you can. And I know there's something about, information overload, of learning too much, viewing too many different ideas, but that's part of the beauty of it. You can pick and choose, what works for you, what doesn't. If you want to, in my opinion, if you want to be one of the fit model overalls, the first pro card winners, you have to almost be obsessed with learning and learning this division, because it is going to keep evolving. So if you think, for example, Emily, she's won 3 overalls. Some athletes might let that go to their head and think, okay, I'm done. I don't need to keep learning. I'll just keep doing exactly what I'm doing. But knowing Emily, she won't do that. She's going to keep learning, keep working with you, keep trying to get better, almost to an obsessive point. And that's what will make or break you as an athlete, I think, in this new division.
Yeah, I mean, even this weekend in Fresno, I had a couple pros come up to me and they said, "We're really excited with what you're doing with Emily. We will be doing Fit Model next year as IFBB pros and moving into that division." And that's one thing that I do want to say. I hear a lot of girls say step down into Fit Model. Stop saying that. Say you're stepping into the division that fits you best, because it's not a step down, it's stepping into what fits you best. And I think that you have to have that mindset that you're actually stepping up into the division that you're going to be most competitive in.
Yeah, that is a great mindset, because I know myself, being a bikini competitor, at first I was thinking, it almost feels like a demotion to go down to fit model. But now my views on that have changed a little bit because of what I've been seeing on stage. And genetically speaking, I probably am best for fit model. I think I will stay in bikini, but that's because my goals as an athlete are different than I would say the majority. You know, the majority of athletes go in with a goal of I want to get my pro card. I want to be on the Olympia stage. And for me, competing is a way to get show off my muscle gain and to just keep trying to get as strong as possible. So I always want to be striving for more muscle. So I think part of it, you know, choosing your division, you also have to take your goals into account. You know, where are you trying to go with this? Because, you know, Emily has a beautiful physique, but for her to get her pro card in bikini, she genetically, she might have needed to go on some sort of PEDs. Now, I'm not saying that that's black and white, but looking at her genetically, she works really hard in the gym. I've seen all those glute workouts. I don't know if she could get her pro card in bikini without being enhanced. So that's something to think about too.
Yeah, there's so many options for people. And I really look at this just like people enter, marathons. I find that our industry is very critical of what other people do. But I've seen people
Yeah.
who were short distance sprinters do marathons just because they wanted to try a different challenge. And the other runners weren't, you know, trashing them on social media about it. They're like, hey, that's awesome. Try something that challenges you. And you know what? You get one life and you get to march at the beat of the drum that you want to march at. And I'm so inclusive about getting everyone into the sport. Yes, it's best to do the division that fits you best, but maybe you like the posing of wellness better, or maybe you like the bling of the suit better, and that's what keeps you in bikini. You get to choose, and don't let other people, criticize you based on what you want to do with the short time that we get to live on this earth.
Yeah, I love that you brought that up, especially to compare a marathon runner and a sprinter. You know, I kind of think that's similar to, you know, powerlifting. You know, if I did a powerlifting meet, my bench press, I would be so excited if I could do 100 pounds by 5 reps. You know, that would be an ultimate success. I would feel amazing. When you hear that from a powerlifting standpoint, you're going to think, what is this girl doing here? You know, she's only benching 100 pounds. But to me, that's a huge success. And I've actually seen someone on social media, she was doing a powerlifting meet and she was really excited that at her meet, she did break a 100-pound bench press. And that was so inspiring to me to see someone, you know, post about how excited they were for themselves. It was a win for themselves when, you know, from outward looking in, if you're a seasoned lifter benching 100 pounds, it's not very impressive. So I do think it's important to tell girls, you know, think about your goals with this and don't let all the chatter because it's so disheartening and disappointing to see, you know, when someone talks about, oh, that girl had no business being on stage. And it's like, well, this was a huge win for her. You know, don't take that away just because, you know, she's not pro card ready. You know, I really love that you brought that up.
Yeah, yeah. You kind of see the typical unfortunate second place is last place coaches, and that's fine. If that's their MO, that's fine too. They're allowed to do that. But I think most of us, want to be inclusive of others and we just want to try. And getting on stage makes it official. Also, you guys have the fashion shows, which is great. You guys can try different suits and stuff like that as you evolve in the sport. So if you're a little bit shy to get on stage and actually get in a competition, definitely jump into one of the fashion shows as well.
Yeah, and it's also a great opportunity for the fit model athletes that want to wear some like high couture or crystallized suit because currently they can't. So if you have that dream to get on stage, have your Victoria's Secret moment kind of thing with all of the crystals, a fashion show is a great idea for you. And it also can really help your posing because there's no set posing for the Angel fashion show. And that can kind of some girls absolutely love it. They can just do whatever they want, but some girls want that structure. Well, if you can feel confident on your own poses, on what looks best on your frame, it really translates to the competition when you're super lean, you've been prepping, peaking. So I think a fashion show is great for those girls that aren't maybe not ready for a show yet, first timers, want to test it out, all the way to, we've had Olympians multiple times on the fashion show stage just because it's a great, I mean, I'm biased, but it's just a great friendly community of women.
What you guys have put together is really special, and I really can't thank you enough for one, all you've done for my athletes, all you've done for my wife and me, and we really do appreciate you guys and the community that you've created.
Yeah, I mean, we're so grateful for you, Adam. It goes both ways. Like the what you're doing with your athletes, it people can see that, and they can feel that. And I think it goes a long way, the community that you've built, going to all of these seminars. If I ever see you at a show, everyone wants to talk to you. You you show up and you're a very like friendly face, friendly vibe. So thank you for being that person as a resource to the athletes.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for jumping on with me today. And if you guys want to follow Kara, where can they find you and where can they find Angel Competition Bikinis?
The best way is following us on Instagram at Angel Competition Bikinis because we post all sorts of resources, new suits, discount sales, sponsored athlete searches. We just did our first big fit model sponsored athlete search and I think we picked 9 girls. We were only going to pick 2, but there are so many amazing athletes. So I think we ended up picking 9. So yeah, stay involved with our Instagram.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time today, and we will see you later, leaner.